Bruce Bochy was renowned to be really hard on coaches. And the reason Bochy was hard on his coaches is because he wanted to see the players. He wanted the players to see the coaches getting yelled at because he thought that was a way to motivate the players.
Yeah.
So Ryan Klesko runs through a third base sign. He runs through the stop sign at third base, took it out on Flannery. He beat Flannery to death. Not literally, but he beat. Now that's old school. That's old school stuff. Mike Shildt has always described himself as an old school manager. So again, are we surprised by this? I mean, I guess that's kind of what I keep coming back to. Are we surprised by this? And back to Preller. So it's one of two things. Either he didn't know that this sort of stuff was going on and that these coaches that they had very, very low morale, which is probably not great if you're the president of baseball operations and you don't realize that it's happening, or that you do realize it's happening and you think, I'll address this in the offseason. I'm not sure. I think I'd rather that the president know that there were these things that were happening and felt like he could fix them. But we'll never get to that point because Mike Shildt decided to call it a season, a career. I don't know. I don't believe the retirement stuff. Even in the AC story, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go back to working in baseball. So, I mean, he's not retiring. Says he's never going to manage again, but it's not going to surprise anybody if this guy ends up with a job this year. It's not going to surprise anybody if he ends up with a job, but I don't know. I just read it again this morning and I just was like, what is, I'm not sure what the point of all this was.
Okay. So one, I think the point was to be like, here's Mike Shilt's take on, all the whispers that he's an asshole and that everyone's happy for him to be gone. Gave
By the
Mike
way,
Shildt
whispers that Kevin could have reported any time,
right?
But chose to report now.
Right. Yes. Which says something. I think so. I'm looking at these two paragraphs.
Not even a week removed from Kevin saying he's coming back.
Yeah. Right.
This has been quite a pivot.
Well, as he says in this article, they were planning on bringing him back, and that's the thing. He says again, this was Mike's choice to leave, but he also kind of says like Mike was miserable because everyone around him was miserable because he was making them miserable, and no one could live up to his high standards and his high expectations and all of that, which we can get into that. These two paragraphs are standing out to me right now, partially because of the journalist thing, but also because I think it says something, whether or not AC wants it to say this thing or not. Quote, "What was striking was the consistency in the assessments of those who had incurred his wrath." And then in parentheses, "The people who spoke for the story were granted anonymity in order to speak freely, and in many cases because they were not authorized to speak publicly." End parentheses. Next paragraph. "Shildt largely left governing of the clubhouse to players and made it a priority to exhibit patience and deference to them. He was, according to several people, often the opposite with his coaching staff and members of the support staff. Those people said they would sometimes happen within a matter of seconds as he berated a staff member before walking out into the clubhouse with a smile on his face." Now, I saw that and I was like, that's psychopathic behavior, right? And people understand that. You can yell at a coach if you're that coach's boss and he's screwed up. People understand that. I think when you yell at a coach in one room and everyone can hear you and then you walk out with a big smile on your face, it shows that you don't give a shit about the person you just yelled at. And I think that is a real vibes killer.